Good evening. What's happening? Again, Monday evening. People are still joining, I can see. I want to see you all on camera. Yes, I can see Bijayanand has come. What about others? Come on, people on camera. We're meeting after a weekend, right? Great. Good to see those smiling faces. Hi, Amit. Hi, Anupama. Anuradha, Vinay, Rama. Great. Meanwhile, people are joining. I would like to start. So today's topic is very crucial again. Why? Because anyone who is looking to grow beyond managing tasks and is looking to step into true leadership, we're talking about that in our today's session. So I want to ask you one question. How often do you feel like your day is consumed by checking off tasks, your to-do list? You're managing your team well, but at the end of the day, you're wondering, am I really leading the team or I'm just keeping things running? Yeah. Do you have that question? Now let's recognize this common experience that most managers face. And it's the truth because many of us are caught in the trap of task management, right? Making sure the work is done, the deadlines are met, and the problems are solved, right? And this is what I called as the busy manager trap. Busy manager trap. Ever heard of this phrase, this term? You're so focused on keeping the wheels turning that you forget to look up and see where the bus is headed towards. It feels like you're always moving, always doing. But at the end of the day, are you really leading? Or are you just trying to maintain the flow? The problem with this trap is that while you're getting all the things done, you're not necessarily creating impact or driving growth. You are stuck in this trap of managing day to day tasks without investing in long term vision or without investing your time in developing your team. And that's not leadership, that's just task management. The reality is, leadership is not about getting tasks done, it goes beyond that. Leadership is about vision, leadership is about empowerment, leadership is about guiding others. And you know what the problem is? The problem is many of us are not trained to make this shift. Do you all agree with me? Are we trained? No, right? That's the problem. The problem why most managers struggle. Why? Most managers struggle. Now, I don't want to throw some analogy here. I want to back it by a research that was done by Harvard Business Review. And this was a survey that they did, and they found that 58% managers admit they never received formal leadership training. And as a result, many professionals find themselves trapped in the cycle of task management, focusing on operational duties, solving short term problems. And what happens is they are missing the bigger picture of inspiring, the bigger picture of empowering their teams. One more study conducted by Gallup shows that 18% of managers demonstrate a high level of leadership capability, but most fall into task management trap because they were never taught how to lead. The focus is always on the result, and as a result they miss again to look at the bigger picture of inspiring and empowering their team. Leadership is not about doing more, it's about guiding more. Remember this. Yeah. Now, there's one more study which was done, and it's a very famous study known as Google's Project Oxygen, where they researched what makes a great manager. Initially, Google believed technical expertise was key to management success, but they were wrong. And their research found out that the top traits of great managers were all about leadership. It was about coaching, it was about empowering the teams, it was about giving the team a vision. And these managers were not just making sure work was done, they were driving transformation. And there were three key findings of this Project Oxygen. As I said, coaching. Great managers spend a great deal of time coaching their team members, not just directing them. I'll share some examples related to this later. Second was empowering the teams. Leaderships or leaders delegate and give ownership to their teams, which creates a culture of trust, a culture of growth in the organization. And third is vision. Great leaders are supposed to tie the daily work, the daily task to a larger picture, a larger purpose, which helps their team to see how their efforts are contributing to a bigger purpose, bigger vision. There was also a survey by Deloitte where they said 63% of employees said they are not engaged at work. And the big reason for that was lack of leadership that inspires them. If you're only managing tasks as a manager, as a leader, you're not motivating your team. You're not motivating your team to bring their best to the table. It doesn't mean that you are a bad manager. The problem is you haven't made the transition to being a leader. Yes? Everyone with me? One of the crucial things that we miss out in finding out the difference between managing and difference between leading. When you're managing, you focused on the what needs to be get done, when it is due, how to make sure it happens, right? Yes or no? But leadership is about the why and the who. Why are we doing this? And who can take the ownership? How can I, as a leader, inspire my team to go beyond just completing the task? A manager would always focus on the tasks, on the deadline, on the budget, on the efficiency. Yeah. I want you to imagine as you in your role. Are you not focusing on the deadline? Are you not focusing on the budget? Are you not focusing on the efficiency? It's great that you're ensuring all the pieces are fitting in well. But as a leader, your focus must shift to how the project contributes to a bigger vision, larger vision, right? You're not just concerned with, are we meeting the deadline? You are asking, how are we improving the customer experience? Are we innovating? By asking these questions, you are directly contributing to a bigger picture, to the vision of the company. Yes or no? Now, I'll tell you one of my personal experience. And I was like one of the manager, right? I used to think leadership was all about getting things done because I saw my managers doing that. And it was long back, right? They would stay on top of the deadlines. They would make sure that all the tasks, everything is completed, keeping everything on track. And for major time of my managerial position, I did the same, believing that was leadership. But something wasn't clicking. I always realized there was a disconnect between me and my team when I actually stepped into the next role. I realized there was always this disconnect. I wasn't really leading them, I was just overseeing the work. So I started making the small shifts. I took out the time to really listen to their concerns, asking their inputs instead of giving all the answers. I was asking for their inputs. And slowly, things started changing. The team started to trust me more because they felt someone is there to listen to them, hear them out. And that actually created a stronger bond. And I could see that they were all starting, they all started coming to me with ideas. They came to me, you know, they took ownership actually, started really contributing to the work. And what I realized was leadership was not about managing tasks, it was about connecting with people and building something bigger together. But it's still crucial that why do we transition from a manager to leader, right? Because true leadership drives a lot of engagement, as I said, it drives innovation, it drives growth. But if you're stuck in that management mode, you're not pushing your team to think creatively. You're not pushing them to take ownership. You're not helping them to develop their skills. And that's the recipe for stagnation. And when people feel stagnant, what happens? Demotivated, right? They don't really contribute. They look out for change. Am I right? Yeah. A manager get results, but a leader will always drive transformation. When you move beyond task, you start driving change. If you want to really make a lasting impact, you need to inspire your team and think beyond those daily checklists. There was another study which I recall, I read it somewhere, and this was again, I think, done by Deloitte, which said that companies with strong leadership are 13 times more likely to outperform their competition. I want you to think about leaders who inspire you or who you admire the most. Were they the ones who buried you in spreadsheets and deadlines, or were they ones who helped you to see your potential? Were they ones who encouraged you to take risk? Were they ones who made you feel like your work mattered, you mattered? Can you recall any of such leader or manager in your career, in your maybe current organization, past organization? Do you see the difference now? So there definitely has to be some key shifts if you want to move from managing tasks to leading people. Nothing will happen overnight, but with intentional shifts, you can start leading. The first shift, you have to shift from commanding to empowering. Instead of giving orders, you have to empower your team to make decisions. Instead of telling your team exactly how to complete that particular task, stop, ask them what would their approach be. Flip the conversation. If someone comes to you for help or someone comes to ask something, flip the conversation. Ask them, what do you think is the best way? How would you approach this? And this will build trust. This will build confidence in them. Why? Because leaders always empower, they don't command. Shift number two, shifting from problem solving to coaching. As a manager, you would always solve problems. But as a leader, you will always guide your team to find solutions themselves. When a team member presents a problem, instead of immediately fixing it, ask some guiding questions. What options have you considered? What outcomes are you hoping for? You always have that resist, right? That urge to solve that problems quickly if you're a problem solver, right? If you know the answers, you'll definitely jump into solving that immediately. Okay, I'll do it. Okay, let me do it. अरे इसको ऐसे नहीं, इसको ऐसे करते हैं. And every time that repeats, right? Because what happens is if someone comes to you with a problem, you feel happy about it, right? And you jump into helping that person. I guess, yes, most of you. Someone if doesn't like people coming to you, then that's a different question altogether. Yes, right? But I want you to stop. You may be a great problem solver, but hold on. If you really want to lead, if you really want to step up, then you need to hold on this urge of solving the problem, fixing the problem if someone comes to you. Instead, ask them some guiding questions. And this approach will definitely empower that person. You are empowering that person to develop their own problem solving skills. If you're providing a solution, that person will not develop his own problem solving skills, right? So, coaching builds problem solving skills. Shift number three, shift from task oriented to vision oriented. As a manager, you would focus on today's task. What is my task for today? Right? But as a leader, your focus has to be on tomorrow's vision. When you're giving a task to your team, to an individual in your team, don't just explain that person what needs to be done. Explain them why it matters to the bigger picture. You may say them, we need to finish this task, say by Friday. But if, as a leader, you must tell them why completing this task is so crucial. How is it related to the big picture? Completing this task is crucial, Amit, because it helps us reach our quarterly goals. And when you're telling your team, when you're telling the individual like this, it is definitely associated with a purpose, right? That person knows he's contributing to something big. You are associating that person to contribute in something big. You're empowering them, you're delegating them to do something big. Yes, clear with three shifts, three major shifts. If you have not made a note, then here is it on the screen. Yeah, let's move further. I want to give you some actionable steps. But before I move on to some actionable steps, I want you to understand, now that I've told you that you have to ship, you'll still have some common challenges, right? And those common challenges could be, so these are challenges, but I want you to kind of bring a shift in this, kind of letting go of control. Now, what does that mean? As a leader, you must trust. As a leader, you must trust your team that they can handle the task without you micromanaging it, right? And I know that as managers, it can be hard to some people because you are used to being in control, right? Of lot of things. But this is something that you need to start letting go if you want to bring that shift. Second thing could be balancing your day to day with a vision. As a leader, you still need to manage the day to day tasks, but you need to ensure that the tasks are getting done. But don't forget to set aside, to set aside some time for those strategic thinking, to work on those long term vision. I'm not saying that you completely give away, don't look at the day to day task, completely hand over it to the team. You definitely need to have an overview of those things, but stop micromanaging. Instead, utilize that time to work on some strategic things that directly contributes to the bigger vision. Now, when you start delegating, when you start minimizing that micromanagement, initially you will also see that there'll be some resistance from your team members because they are used to, right? Especially if they are used to getting directions from you for everything that they have to do. So, in such scenarios, it will take time to build trust, but you will have to always encourage them to step up. I remember this one manager who I work with, and he always used to struggle to delegate his to delegate the task to his team members. Why? Because he feared that he will lose the control, right? You see, right, a lot of managers do that. They don't delegate certain tasks to you thinking that they'll lose control. They tend to do those things thinking that this is a very important thing, I can't delegate it to my team member, I have to do it on my own. Okay, so let's come to the actionable steps. Delegate ownership, not just task. Now, this is something that I want you to start effective today. The next time you're delegating a task, give your team full ownership of both the process and the result. Ask more questions and give fewer answers. Start asking powerful, open ended questions that will encourage your team to think and come up with solutions. And third thing, as I said, maybe in your next meeting, maybe it could be the start of your next project. I want you to communicate the why behind the work. Help your team to see the bigger purpose behind that project, behind that task. Yes, will you start with this small shifts? Great. Wonderful. So, final takeaways. Leaders always focus on people, not just task. You must shift from commanding to empowering. And you must always lead with vision. And I want you to notice the difference when you lead with vision instead of just tasks. Because leadership is not about checking things off the list. It's about creating an environment where your team feels empowered, where your team feels inspired, where your team is driven to succeed. Not because they are following orders, but because they believe in the vision. And most importantly, they believe in themselves. Yes, with me, everyone? Wonderful. So, I want to share something important. It's not about tomorrow's session, because tomorrow we are taking a break. The next session will be on Wednesday. And what that session will be, you'll get to know tomorrow in the Career Dwar LinkedIn page. So if you're not following, I want you to follow Career Dwar LinkedIn page, follow our WhatsApp channel and our Facebook group. And there is this one post that we have posted today. And this is something very important, which I wanted to share. And this is something that could really help you improve your communication, improve your leadership skills. How many of you have heard of Toastmasters? Wonderful. But let me tell you about Career Dwar Toastmasters, where professionals like you, professionals like me, practice and grow through real life experiences. And one such thing happened yesterday, just yesterday. Our club participated in the area level contest in a very well known IT company in Bangalore. And this was our first in person meeting after months of virtual sessions. And our fellow Toastmasters from the club were able to meet the area directors, division directors, and they learned so much about leadership. They learned so much about speaking, communication. So at Career Dwar Toastmasters, we are building leaders, not just speakers. And if you want to enhance your communication skills and become the kind of leader who inspires and influences, this is where you start. So follow our page for more updates on all such events that we keep doing. More information, more updates will follow through. And go through the LinkedIn post because there are a lot of pictures and a lot of things written there, and repost it within your circle. And our session, next session, as I said, is on Wednesday, same time, 8 p.m. But what that session is, you'll get to know tomorrow at Career Dwar page. All right. So until then, see you all. Good night. Take care.